I loved doing the rom-coms, but I was getting the scripts and I felt like I could do the same script tomorrow morning. And I was like, that's fine, but I want something that's going to make me sweat in my boots. I want some work that's going to challenge me and make me go, I'm scared of this role for all the right reasons, and I can't wait to go attack it. That's what I was looking for, and I wasn't getting that in the rom-coms. So I stopped doing rom-coms. I said no. Well, for the first 6 months of not doing rom-coms, I wasn't doing anything. Only thing that came in was rom-coms. I said no. And for 14 more months, nothing came in. I considered other careers. Didn't know if I'd ever work again. But after 20 months of being gone, unbranding as I now call it, being out of sight, not being in your theater or your living room in a rom-com, not seeing me shirtless on the beach, I became a new good idea for some of those dramatic roles. Because where's he been? I don't know. I haven't seen him. Where has he been?
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because when I started my first business, I really struggled to believe in myself. I was making $300 a month and quit on my business partner. And the thing that saved me was watching the stories of successful entrepreneurs. They gave me strategies as well as hope and belief that just maybe I could do it myself as well. And I hope that this video here today helps you get a little bit more belief in yourself, because I still need the videos for myself today too. So today let's learn from one of the best, Matthew McConaughey, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
Why do you pursue things that scare you? Why seek the role that's hard?
Because it cost me something. Because it cost. It comes with a price. It's a bit of that line, don't pick a fight, kid. It's not really a fight unless you can lose it. It's not really, it's not really a risk unless you can lose the fight. I feel more alive in them. I have an experience in the making of them. I'm nervous every day I come to work. I feel like when I nail a day and I knock it and I know I did, I feel like, yes, I have a measure at the end of the day of like, you set out to do something, you prepared for it, you had intention, and you did it. And maybe even found some magic in the day. That I sleep good knowing that I accomplished that day in building the architecture of a character's arc through a story. And then if I could put the whole thing together, and it comes out, the whole performance turns out to be a beautiful song, an original song of that character, then I'm like, yes. And I know that I was highly responsible for that. I was not solely responsible, but the most responsible for that. And that gives me pleasure. That gives me gratification. That makes me feel, gives me significance. That gives me confidence. If I don't pull it off, and I do have a day where I'm like, oh, no, you didn't ever, and it was my fault. I would rather, with these kind of roles, I can look in the mirror and go, so guess who's responsible for not pulling it off? You, McConaughey. In the same way, when I go, guess who's responsible for pulling it off? I like knowing who, you. And it was also, again, work that challenged the vitality of my life. Dramatic roles allow you, the actor, to have as high of a ceiling or as low of a basement, from love to hate, from happiness to pain, as that particular actor wants to bring to it. That's what's inherently beautiful about dramas. Okay, you're the part. You're playing the role. How are you going to emulate that person through yourself? That is a vital thing. That I feel, that makes me sweat. That makes me sleep better at the end of the day. That gives me a sense of accomplishment. I'm like, yes, I did what I intended to do. I prepared for it, was ready. Oh, the day didn't go how I thought it was going to go. But I called audibles along the way, enrolled, and still told the truth on my man, the character. That gratification feels good.
Rule number 2 is stop sabotaging yourself.
How did you not self-sabotage when you were just getting hit after hit and opportunity after opportunity and you were going downhill? How do you not do that where you self-sabotage, and what do you recommend for other people so they don't do it when the opportunities are coming?
Great topic, because I have tripped myself running downhill before. I have face planted, broke my nose and to proverbially make sure I was felt. It's like you don't need to go that hard. You know what I mean? We don't need to draw blood, McConaughey, just to make sure we can feel. So there's been times I have not been graceful when I was running downhill. But I shook hands with the fact that, okay, obviously it means you give a damn, McConaughey. Obviously it means you're trying to read through the mendacities of life. You're trying to get down to the common denominator about what really matters to you. You're trying to understand all this affluence and things coming to you that you never had yesterday that now you have, and you want 80 hours in a day, but they're still only given 24. I got to get some discernment in here. And for me, I've had to had the ability, and I have taken what I call fuga mundi, a walkabout. I have taken those solo trips with myself. I've, what we talked about early in the conversation, gone to a place where I could hear myself think, where I could get my head and my heart aligned. In those times of great affluence, sometimes it's all heady. Mm-hmm. And I have a piece in the book about when you can, ask yourself if you want to before you do. Well, in times of great influence, we have a lot of I can in front of us.
Tons of opportunity.
And too many options can make a tyrant out of anybody.
Yeah.
So it's a very heady thing. And sometimes that's times when it's like, okay, this all makes sense in my head, but I don't really feel it inside my spirit. I don't know if it's really me, if it's really good for me, if this is going to turn me on and help me be and feed me. But geez, I mean, I've never had the option before. It sounds awesome. I mean, yes. Well, that's not a bad thing to do, but we got to check in on that, because you can look up and the tank can be on reserve. Yeah. When you look in the rearview mirror and go, whoa, I over leveraged myself with things that did not feed me and pay me back. And so we need to take that time to go check in. And it can be a hairy time, man, because the answers don't come quickly sometimes.
Yeah.
And when they don't come and you're shaking monkeys off your back and you're not enjoying your own company and none of it makes sense and it's all confusing and you're looking over there and you want to go, you want to go to entertainment or communication, or you want to pick up the phone, or you want to drink earlier, or one of those things that come up to mask that, you got to try to hold back and say, no, I'm going to sit in this discomfort. This is a penance I am taking to get to know myself and listen to myself.
Rule number 3 is start journaling.
I've been keeping journals since I was 14 years old. And so I guess starting 15 years ago, I would always carry this treasure chest full of the journals I'd been keeping, and they were filling up that treasure chest. And I would take it with me to any place that we went for an extended amount of time, put it over there to the right of my proverbial desk and go, have it there, because if you get the itch and you get some time, I dare you to go on that treasure chest and see what's in there. Well, I've threatened to open up that treasure chest and see what those journals held for the past 15 years. Didn't have the courage really to open it up. Didn't want to make the time to go in there because I was intimidated of looking back at 50 years or however many years of my life. I'm not one for really liking to look back over my shoulder. I'm somebody who likes to, I'm still someone who rather enjoys making the sandwich more than eating it. I like making my movies more than I even like watching them. I like doing things, moving on, and heading forward. So,
well, you must have had some idea too when you were making those journals, at least in principle, that you owed an obligation to yourself at some point to look back over them. And I can see that would be intimidating because you're creating a task for yourself, a task of reconsideration and contemplation, I suppose.
Well, my excuse was, when I die, Camilla will open them up, and if there's something worth sharing, she'll do it. Which wasn't used in martyrdom, if there's something worth it.
Rule number 4 is be inquisitive.
When you went back and looked at your journals, were you surprised at the wisdom of some of the things that you said when you were younger? Was there anything that stuck out that you didn't expect?
Obviously, the earlier diary entries were whys. Why, what, where, when, hows. It was the questions. There was a question mark after everything. So I was always seeking the questions. As I evolved and got older, I started to answer some of those questions and could sum them up in a wisdom bomb or an aphorism or a bumper sticker, right? But it didn't lead to any fewer questions. My questions evolved, I think. But as I said earlier, the questions I was asking at 14 about existence and who am I and what matters and what's life about, how the world works, who am I in this world? I still question those.
But to interrupt you quickly there, it is unusual for a 14-year-old to be asking those kinds of questions. So I'm curious, where do you think that comes from in you?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because we weren't raised as a very introspective family. We always have our prayer and gratitude as a family. We were raised as consistent extroverts. I wasn't allowed to watch TV or read because my mom would say, why read about or watch somebody do something that you can go do yourself? Get outside. As always, go do it. Go experience it. So, I don't know where my family, my mom wasn't really a writer. My dad wasn't. I was always, though, early on, the inquisitor of the family, the interrogator, the one who wasn't satisfied with mom and dad just going, because we said so. I would go, well, let's get underneath this. That's why I was going to be a lawyer. They were like, dude, Matthew, the youngest one, you debate things and question things to the nth degree, and it's exhausting at times. So I was always sort of wanting to get to the underbelly of the meaning of things at a very early age. So I don't know where that came from, but that's just kind of, I think, always been who I am.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is enjoy your own company.
You knew that there is something to be extracted from living life. So, whether you would agree with the statement that there's power in loneliness, certainly you were creating situations from which you had the frame of reference, I can extract value from this. How did you get that frame of reference? Like, that's so useful, but I don't think most people have that.
Man, I don't know exactly where I got it. I would say, again, to call back that Australian year where I did not have a choice, where I was forced into that situation and saw the green light assets from being alone and quite lonely. I do think that there's great value in being alone. And if we are alone and we get bored and we don't like the company, ding, may that light go off to say that does not mean we need to pick up our phone to get some attention or go to the bottle to ease the anxiety or go online to get some feedback to entertain ourselves. No, it's actually a great time to say, no, sit here in that discomfort long enough to go, okay, until you come out the other side to go, all right, I'm good with me again. Now, it's part of that. I write about it about traveling in general. Ideally, you don't go to a place, I always say this, I don't want to leave a place I travel to until I get to the point of going, I could live here. This could be my existence. And as soon as I get to that point, then I'm like, okay, you can go. Now I can go. That's the same thing in the personal journeys. Stick with it till you get through the discomfortable to uncomfortable times until you go, you know what? I can spend time with myself. I could do this. I could do this forever. Well, then it's okay to go re-engage, pick up your phone, go see your friends, go have a drink, what have you. Go look for those things that are the other relationships in life. But hopefully not until. There's great value in not doing that until you go, I'm good with me and me for right now.
Rule number 6 is stay in the zone.
I know in my heart that, as we've been saying, there's no destination. It's all a verb. Life's a verb. It's a process. You don't ever achieve. So I'm trying to reframe that into going, well, keep achieving in the pursuit of the unachievable. And make steps. So I do want to evolve, but a lot of times I'll emotionally feel insignificant if I don't achieve something.
Interesting.
And I think it's sometimes it's good. Because it is good to accomplish. It is good to set a goal, get what we want, go after it. Other times it's like you kind of just need to sit still or just stay in your perpetual motion and go forward and quit. Don't miss the process for the clinching seek of the result. Mm-hmm. And don't let the result tell you, now I'm significant. You know what I mean? At the same time, I've had a hell of a lot better results when I was stuck to the process.
Oh.
When I wasn't as worried about the result, the best golfers shoot the best rounds, when they walk off 18 thinking they're going to the next tee box and someone's got to tell them, no, you finished the round, you shot 63. Oh, I did? I've done my best work when we wrap and I'm like, okay, see y'all tomorrow morning. And they're like, no, that's it. We wrap. The show is over. And you're like, oh, really? Oh, wow. Stay in the zone, in the process. And I found that more results will come your way.
Rule number 7 is look out for green lights.
Talk to us about what is a green light, but more deeply, For me, what I'm fascinated by is, how do you know when something's a green light? And sometimes do we miss them? Like, do we miss green lights as well?
Absolutely. We miss them all the time. Sometimes they're right in front of us. We don't see them daily because we're not in a place to receive them, to recognize them, to be aware of them, to see a certain situation. Sometimes we see red and yellow lights where they're actually green lights. Sometimes we slow down and stop, or feel like we're getting stopped when it's actually, no, it was free. There was no glass on the floor. You could pass through that dark hallway. It was a free ride, whatever that may be. A lot of times I know that we can create green lights, engineer them for our future by the choices we make daily. I call it, it's a version of delayed gratification. It's a version of ROI, return on our investments. It's like teeing ourselves up, being kind to our future self, teeing up more green lights in our future. They're based on a mix of responsibility and freedom, the choices we make, compounding assets of our future. If we, for instance, we could decide to say, I'm going to lie, cheat, steal, get a short money green light right now for me. Well, you're actually teeing up yellow and red lights in the future, because everywhere you go, you got to look over your shoulder and go, oh, is someone here that I lied, cheat, and stole from? And the cops are after me, whatever that may be, as a metaphor. If we take care of our business today, it can be simple thing. Here's a simple green light thing. Put your coffee in your coffee filter the night before you go to bed. You're so happy the next morning just to press that button, because sometimes it's hard to make your coffee when you hadn't had your coffee. So there can be simple little green lights where you tee yourself up for be more success and ease in the future. And then, like I said, sometimes you can engineer them. Sometimes they will just fall in our lap. And how do we find them? I've found that we find them by either enduring through something, or pivoting and having another look at something a different way, or raising the white flag and saying, I'm going to live to fight another day because I'm going to fight another battle here.
Rule number 8 is hold yourself accountable.
I'm going to test out my threshold of hedonism. I don't want to be harmful. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean to anyone else or myself. At the same time, I'm going to give myself a Saturday night POV for some time. And I did it for a couple of years. And then I just noticed that, okay, this feels revolutionary, not evolutionary. This feels like a stop, not a stay. This indulgence, an option to indulge, I'm not really feeling an ascension in my life. I'm cool with where it is. I'm not griping about it. I'm enjoying it. And I'd be silly if I didn't. But I'm not really feeling a build, an ascension in my life. And I want to feel build. So I decided to get out of there and go away. So I knew at that time, that was a stop and not a stay. I also, during that time, at the end of that time, really started to question my belief in God and stuff. And so I remember saying, okay, you're a believer, but why? And is your sense of belief, Matthew, your fatalistic sense of belief that it's all fate, is that it? You using that as an excuse almost in ways in your life to let yourself off the hook? And I remember going, well, let's just put two hands on the wheel of self-determination here. And let's be our own judge and jury, Matthew. And let's call it out and not rely on, hey, no, you know what? If, it's all been written. And so I went through I would call it an agnostic time. And as I said in the book, it wasn't as much of a time where I disbelieved God. It was a time where I said, you need to hold yourself more accountable, Matthew. You need to have both hands on your wheel of where you're going, because you're letting yourself slide on on a lot of stuff. And I want to go test that out. I want to hold you more accountable, Matthew. So I wanted to hold myself more accountable. And went through a couple of years of that. And it was a very good exercise. And my relationship with God, I believe, my belief is that God was smiling and going, yeah, good on you. Way to grab a hold of the wheel. Because you do have free will. And it didn't make me think that anything's going to change after this life. But it did make me say, hey, while I'm in it, remember that I've got freedom of choice and hold myself more responsible for my choices.
Rule number 9 is trust yourself.
What would your hero at 60 say about who you are today, looking back?
Wow. Yeah, it's a great question, and one I think we should all ask ourselves. Have I had that great sit down with our future self? I think he'd say, make sure you trust yourself. Make sure you did a good job of trusting yourself, but you know what? You could have even trusted yourself more. You could even trust yourself more. You made some things, maybe you made some things a little too hard, maybe where you didn't need the resistance. Just sit back and trust yourself. Some made some things hard because you felt like you needed to feel it. Nah, you had already done the work. You already laid the rails on the road. Just now, right now, stay vital. Keep those rails greased. Keep yourself in shape, mentally, spiritually, but overall, you've done it. You did it. You're doing good at trusting yourself.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be confident.
There's this Zen-like confidence about you that I will say, even to this day, feeling like I now know you, I still don't think I understand where it comes from.
Huh. Okay. Look, confidence is so important. I'm not always as confident as I may appear. I get frustrated. I struggle. I go through my own bouts of sense of lack of significance. I'm addicted sometimes to accomplishment to get my confidence. And in those times, I think when I am not as confident is usually when I'm a little bit more spiritually barren, meaning when I get consumed with mortal rewards. Mortal failures hurt me more. Mortal successes rise me up more into a false confidence, which they really are. When I'm more spiritually sound, I'm seeing the infinite game. I'm thinking about this life is one little run for me in the blip of history, and I'll be gone. What am I leaving behind? So when I started thinking about the infinite game, the bigger picture, the immortal rewards, being if you're a believer of a heaven or something else, or the immortal rewards of after we're gone, what do we leave for the next generation or my children? I get extremely confident and clear. And my ego is married to service and thoughtfulness. And the selfish idea for me happens to be what would be the most selfless idea, and vice versa. I'm not objectifying people or the world or judging them as harshly and as arrogantly as I can do sometimes when I'm less confident. I think if that explains it, that's where that comes from when I'm on my frequency.
The actual making of a film, the day-to-day going to work, the construction of a film, has always been my favorite thing. I like making a film much more than I like watching them. I do. And even the ones I'm in. I really love the coming together with a whole bunch of people, having an idea on paper, and everyone's an expert at what they do, and you're off on this journey. You got ideas, but then you just let it go and see what it can become. I love the making. That's when I'm happiest, is when I'm making a film or telling a story, the day-to-day. And more so than watching them, really. Look, I kind of defined that for myself about 4 years ago. Stay in process. Head down, in process, stay in your bubble. And when it's over, be that fulfillment. Notice when I started noticing that fulfillment of it, I just finished. Well, that's enough. That's it. I don't know if it's even coming out. I don't know what it's going to turn in. Man, I hope we got it, and I hope the director put something good together, but I don't know. Nothing I can do about that. All I know is this experience that I say, go have the experience, McConaughey. And if I can love this experience, and at the end of it, I'm like, may never even hear that film again. May never even know that story again. It may be gone. May find out that all the negatives got fried in the x-ray machine. There is no film, but that's okay. I had an experience there. When I got selfish for that experience, when I got that process, enjoying that process, the day-to-day architecture of making a movie and creating a role, that's when I've been the happiest. And more results have come that way in an odd way. Yes. You know? But I just saw when I started really approaching them as this is a finite thing and this is just that experience. Other than that, I'm not producing this thing. I'm not the one editing. I don't know what it's going to be. That's it. And then all of a sudden they come out and you go, oh, I think we got a good one.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you're different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
If you want to see my recent one-on-one with Matthew McConaughey, check out my interview right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Sometimes it's not about what decision you make, just make one and commit to it. Self-determination and fate, intentionality and trust. I mean, it's always a balance of those two.